You've probably told yourself you're lazy or careless or that some part of you just stopped caring. You watch the bills pile up, the relationship cool, your health slide, the deadline pass, and instead of doing something, you just watch. And then you hate yourself for it. But what if that's not laziness at all? What if the thing you've been calling weakness is actually a very specific, very well documented state your body drops into on purpose? Not a character flaw, a protocol. Today, we're going to name that state, understand exactly why your brain chooses it, and give you a way out of it that doesn't require you to just try harder. Because trying harder is the one thing this state makes almost impossible. Let's start with what's actually happening. When people watch their life fall apart, there are really only three ways a person responds. The first is what we'll call the bailer. The bailer sees water coming into the boat and starts scooping, fixes things, makes calls, fights the decline with visible effort, even if it's chaotic and exhausting. The second is the jumper. The jumper looks at the sinking boat and gets out, ends the relationship, quits the job, walks away before it gets worse. Not always graceful, but active. And then there's the third type, the one this video is actually for. We'll call this person the Stargazer. The Stargazer doesn't bail, doesn't jump. The Stargazer sits very still while the water rises, looking almost calm, almost checked out, while everyone around them assumes they simply don't care. That assumption is wrong, and it's the most damaging misunderstanding in this entire story, because the Stargazer usually believes it too. Here's the reframe. You are not a Stargazer because you're apathetic. You're a Stargazer because your nervous system made an executive decision on your behalf, and it didn't ask for your permission. This isn't folk psychology, it's biology. The researcher Stephen Porges spent decades mapping how the nervous system responds to threat, and he found something most people never learn in school. Fight and flight are not your only two settings. There's a third, older circuit, sometimes called a shutdown response, that activates when your system decides a threat is too big, too prolonged, or too inescapable to fight or flee from. And when that circuit takes over, it doesn't just slow you down. It makes action itself feel physically unreachable, like trying to sprint through wet cement. You've seen this exact mechanism in nature, actually, even if you never connected it to yourself. An opossum facing a predator it can't outrun and can't fight doesn't do nothing out of cowardice. It goes rigid, heart rate drops, body shuts down almost entirely. Biologists call it thanatosis, playing dead, and it is not the opossum giving up. It's the most sophisticated survival tool the animal has left. The stillness is the strategy. That's you, staring at the unopened envelope. That's you, scrolling past the conversation you know you need to have. Your body isn't failing you. It's running the oldest emergency protocol it has, because somewhere along the way, it decided this particular collapse was too big to fight and too inescapable to flee. But here's the problem with that protocol when it comes to modern life. A predator eventually leaves. A due date doesn't. So the shutdown that once kept a smaller, more vulnerable version of you safe now keeps you frozen in front of problems that are actually solvable, just not solvable through force. And that's the trap. You keep waiting to feel ready, for the motivation to arrive, for that Baylor-style energy to kick in. It won't. Not because you're broken, but because you're asking a shutdown circuit to behave like a fight circuit. Wrong tool for the state you're in. So how do you actually get out of a shutdown? Not through willpower. Through three specific moves, in order. The first is renaming the freeze. This sounds small, but it isn't. Right now, every time you notice yourself doing nothing, you attach a story to it. Lazy, broken, weak. That story adds shame on top of an already overloaded nervous system, and shame is fuel for more shutdown, not less. The moment you can say this is a shutdown response, not a character defect, you remove one entire layer of threat your body was reacting to. You're not fixing the problem yet. You're just telling your nervous system the truth about what's happening, and truth, even uncomfortable truth, registers as slightly safer than shame. The second move is micro-mobilization, not a 5-step action plan, not just start. The shutdown circuit doesn't respond to big instructions, it responds to tiny physical proof that movement is possible again. Standing up and opening a window, walking to the end of the driveway and back. physically touching the envelope without opening it. These sound too small to matter, and that's exactly why they work. They're small enough that your nervous system doesn't read them as another overwhelming demand. You're not solving the problem. You're proving to your body, in a language it actually understands, that stillness is no longer required. The third move is building an environment with fewer threat signals. A shutdown state is maintained by an environment that keeps broadcasting danger. The overflowing inbox, the phone full of unanswered messages, the room that looks like the chaos in your head. You don't need to fix your life to change this. You need to reduce the number of visible reminders that your system is interpreting as ongoing threat. Clear one surface, silence one notification, close one tab. Every reduced signal is one less reason for your body to stay in shutdown. No, and one more reason it's willing to consider coming back online. Notice what's not on that list. There's no just push through it. There's no 5-year plan. Because a nervous system in shutdown cannot be reasoned into action. It has to be shown in small physical proofs that it's safe to move again. So let's bring this together. You were never the person who stopped caring. You were the person whose body made a survival decision faster than your mind could weigh in, and then quietly took the blame for it for years. You are not lazy. You are in shutdown. This isn't a flaw to fix. It's a state to exit. And exiting doesn't start with force. It starts with naming the state honestly, giving your body small, undeniable proof that movement is possible, and quietly lowering the number of alarms going off around you. Not all at once, just the next one. I've put together a short guide called the Shutdown Exit Checklist, a simple list of 10 micro-mobilization actions you can use the next time you notice yourself frozen in front of something that matters. You can grab it using the link in the description. Now, if you watched this and thought, this isn't me, I don't freeze, I just burn out from fighting every single fire myself, that's a different pattern entirely, and it deserves its own answer. Go watch our video on how to tell if you are just severely burnt out or if it's turning into something deeper. I'll link it right here. Thanks for watching. I hope this gave you something you can actually use, and I'll see you in the next one.